Welcome to the Tim Booker channel where wisdom is worth sharing. We wish you a pleasant listening experience. In this episode, we will be discussing a highly classic work in the field of psychology, How the Mind Works. This book contains approximately 590,000 words and will be presented in 2 audio segments. This is the first part. In this segment, I will spend about 25 minutes unraveling the essence of this book. The principles governing the human mind are analogous to those of a computer system. This system has evolved through natural selection. The mind is not merely the brain but encompasses all that the brain does. You are likely familiar with the term mind, as it is often mentioned in marketing, when people assess someone's maturity, or when we hear about something called a mind model. But what exactly is the mind? What can it do? Scientists and philosophers have been studying the mind for centuries, continually pondering and arguing about why human thinking and civilization differ from that of other species. The French philosopher René Descartes famously said, "I think, therefore I am," suggesting that the mind and the body are distinct entities. However, subsequent research in neuroscience and psychology has shown that the mind does indeed interact with the body. After Charles Darwin introduced the theory of evolution, the interpretation of the mind shifted from a philosophical question to a scientific one. In this book, author Steven Pinker delves into the concept of the mind, which has been a subject of both philosophy and science. Speaking of Pinker, he is a prominent figure in the fields of cognitive psychology and linguistics. He holds a PhD in experimental psychology from Harvard University, is a TED speaker, and has been listed as one of the top 100 global public intellectuals by both Foreign Policy and Prospect magazines for 2 consecutive years. He has also been named one of the 100 most influential people in the world by Time magazine twice. This book, How the Mind Works, is part of Steven Pinker's 4-book series on language and human nature, which also includes The Language Instinct, The Blank Slate, and The Stuff of Thought. These books constitute a remarkable series. In this particular book, Pinker will address the origins of the mind, the principles governing its operation, and the abilities it bestows upon us. The book was initially published in 1997, a year in which IBM's Deep Blue narrowly defeated the world chess champion, Garry Kasparov. 20 years later, this book was reissued at a time when artificial intelligence, exemplified by AlphaGo, had defeated the world's top Go player, Lee Sedol. Within the pages of this book, the author also discusses theories and perspectives on machine computation and artificial intelligence, even though it was originally written in 1997. It continues to offer significant insights in this era of artificial intelligence. This book contains a vast amount of information and covers multiple disciplines, including psychology, sociology, linguistics, biology, and more. Despite being a comprehensive and content-rich classic, the overall structure is exceptionally clear. The author begins by introducing 2 theories regarding mental computation and explaining what the mind truly is. Then, he presents 4 capabilities of the mind. In this audio segment, let's delve into what the mind truly is and explore 2 theories related to the mind. These theories shed light on how the mind is generated and functions. Life on Earth has undergone 3 major revolutions. The first occurred approximately 3.5 billion years ago when microorganisms first appeared, marking the emergence of diverse species. The second revolution, about 500 million years ago, brought forth multicellular organisms, significantly increasing the variety of life forms and leading to the gradual formation of Earth's ecosystems. The third revolution, occurring in the last 2.5 million years, is when humans began to be aware of their existence and consciously alter the natural world. It was during this time that our minds truly began to play a role. Some may think of the mind as synonymous with the brain, as the brain is the body's most complex organ responsible for our thoughts. Others consider the mind to encompass various mental activities, as it controls processes like reasoning, judgment, and observation. Some even view the mind as our emotions and feelings, as individuals with stable emotions and introspective abilities are often seen as having mature minds. However, these notions are incomplete. The author provides a definition in the book, stating that the mind is a system designed by natural selection to help our ancestors solve life's challenges. In simple terms, the mind is not just the brain but encompasses all the functions performed by the brain. It enables us to engage in reasoning, problem-solving, work, and interpersonal relationships in a complex, interconnected society. Now, let's explore the origins and workings of our minds. The author presents two theories in this regard, the computational theory of mind and the theory of natural selection. First, let's look at the computational theory of mind. In the past, many believed that our intelligence was a divine gift, and discussions about the mind often took place in philosophy and theology. It wasn't until the mid-20th century, during the computer revolution, that new answers emerged regarding what the mind is. The computational theory of mind is a central theory in cognitive science and a hot topic in philosophy. This theory posits that nature has its own algorithmic systems, and human mental phenomena are one of these algorithms. A key concept in this theory is the computer metaphor, which treats the human brain as a computer. Cognitive processes and mental activities in humans are considered computational processes. Just as computers use chips and memory to store data, our minds rely primarily on neurons in the brain to receive stimuli, process information, and produce responses. Why is the computational theory of mind useful for explaining the mind? One compelling piece of evidence is the design of artificial intelligence. Cognitive psychology suggests that human minds and computer computation principles are similar. The complex structure and processes of human minds can be modeled as forms of artificial intelligence. By reverse engineering and analogy, we can establish and explain models of human mental activities. In essence, our minds are like computers, composed of three components: an information input system, an information processing system, and an output system. The mind's response to different information is akin to a computer executing different commands and activating various software and programs. Together, these software and programs make up our mental system. To make a computer engage in thinking activities like a human, its programs should align with the mechanisms of human cognition. Conversely, giving computers intelligent algorithms allows them to achieve artificial intelligence. Thus, the foundation of artificial intelligence, in addition to neuroscience and cognitive science, lies in the theory of mind computation. So, what does this theory tell us about how our mental models work? The answer lies in how the mind processes received information using different representational formats within the brain and then responds through output. Representation refers to how information is presented in the mind. Let's illustrate this with an example. When we hear the word elephant, we think of them as large, mammalian creatures with long trunks and big ears. These concepts represent different aspects of elephants in our minds. There's an experiment that demonstrates how we can process information based on certain rules, emphasizing attention and quick responses. Participants sit in front of a screen where a rapid succession of letters appears. They are instructed to press one key when they see two identical letters and another key when they see two different letters. Even when the letters have the exact same shape, people tend to respond faster and more accurately when the letters look different, even if they represent the same letter in different cases, example uppercase A and lowercase a. This suggests that during the experiment, participants didn't categorize the letters based on their inherent meanings but rather treated them as images, matching them based on their shapes. This phenomenon is a representation of how our minds work. The author suggests that our brains use at least four major formats of representation. 1. Visual image representation. This format is akin to the experiment we discussed earlier, where information is filtered and processed through visual perception. Our eyes receive information from the external world, discard some of it, and combine it with our existing experiences to form new cognitive representations. The mind provides us with a cognitive framework for observing the world, similar to a filter that affects our perception of what we see. People with different mental models often have different feelings or arrive at entirely different conclusions when observing the same thing. This is similar to how each person may focus on different aspects and interpretations when viewing various pieces of art. 2. Speech representation. This format functions like a player in our minds. In addition to visual image representation, we often learn through auditory input. This representation is a crucial component of short-term memory. For instance, when we look up a phone number, we may silently or audibly repeat it a few times, creating a short-term auditory memory that lasts 1 to 5 seconds and can hold approximately 4 to 7 memory chunks. This allows us to remember the number for a brief time. 3. Grammar representation. This format represents the rules governing our language and speech. When we learn a new language, it can feel unfamiliar because of differences in grammar rules. Linguist Noam Chomsky proposed that our brains have fixed grammar rules. For example, Chinese and English have distinct grammatical structures, and we can understand our native language because of the role grammar plays. For mental language, this format is a language of thought. The mind uses this language to communicate information internally, enabling us to describe what we see and imagine what we hear. It also helps us condense complex information, among other functions. For instance, after reading a book, we might forget specific pages and sentences, but we can usually remember the book's main content and key ideas. Mental language helps us capture these core elements and crucial information. In summary, these four representations, visual imagery, speech, grammar, and mental language, enable us to process and interpret external information through different avenues. As we mentioned earlier, the mind functions similarly to a computer, where these representations serve as different instructions. By following these instructions, we can engage different modules within our minds to process and produce responses. To put it simply, the computational theory of mind uses computer principles to analogize the human mind. It proposes that our minds consist of modules, each meticulously designed with its own algorithms. Now, let's consider how these modules evolved as we transition from animals to humans. According to the author, these modules are determined by our genetic blueprint, which itself has evolved through natural selection during the lengthy process of transitioning from animals to humans. Next, let's take a look at another theory that explains the mind, the theory of natural selection, also known as evolutionary psychology. The core idea of this theory is that the human mind is the result of genetic evolution. Through evolution, our minds have gradually improved, and the minds we possess today are the result of thousands of years of natural selection. So, what are the characteristics of our genes? The author suggests that human genes have a natural instinct for self-replication. Genes are responsible for creating the mind. In other words, the ultimate goal of the evolution of the mind is to replicate genes more effectively. Humans are essentially survival machines for genes. Through gene replication, we eliminate unfavorable genes and retain genes that are beneficial for reproduction. This process has made our bodies stronger and our brains more intelligent over millions of years of evolution. During this extended period of evolution, genes developed a set of intricate techniques and strategies to ensure their survival in the competition for existence. Behind seemingly ordinary human mental activities, there lies a lengthy process of genetic evolution and intricate, complex designs. In simpler terms, genes control our minds. At this point, an intriguing question arises: genes only replicate themselves mechanically and lack intelligence, so why do humans possess advanced and complex minds? While humans are often regarded as the most intelligent beings, it doesn't mean we excel in every aspect compared to animals. For instance, the average human IQ is around 100, while the IQ of a catfish is only 4. Even though we have a much higher IQ than catfish, it's still challenging for us to catch a catfish directly without tools. We also can't outrun a cheetah or jump as high as a kangaroo. However, we still dominate the top of the food chain thanks to our minds. Why is this the case? Here, the author proposes 4 factors closely related to our ancestors' living environment, factors that gradually led to the evolution of our minds and the creation of modern civilization. The first factor that drove the evolution of the mind in response to complex living environments is vision. We primarily rely on our 2 eyes to perceive and understand the external world. An experiment involving rhesus monkeys discovered that visual processing in their brains occupies half of their brain's bandwidth. For humans, approximately 90% of our perception of the world comes from vision. Vision offers several advantages over other sensory pathways like hearing, touch, and smell. One significant advantage is the ability to establish stereoscopic vision, allowing us to estimate distances to targets visually. Stereoscopic vision also aids in agile movement, such as navigating trees without falling. It enables us to accurately calculate the distance between ourselves and prey or other objects. Additionally, color vision helps us distinguish foods. For example, ripe fruits are often brightly colored, while spoiled or rotting substances appear dark. We can judge whether something is edible based on its appearance. Without visual perception, our awareness of the external world would be significantly dulled. Vision allows us to rapidly perceive and discern our environment, providing our minds with more precise survival information and laying the foundation for subsequent information processing. So, where do we get most of our information? This leads us to the second factor that allowed humans to evolve minds: communal living. The majority of primates live in communities, and this lifestyle has clear advantages. It is an efficient way to protect oneself because solitary animals are more vulnerable to natural predators. Living in a group also increases the efficiency of foraging. Through cooperation and division of labor, individuals can acquire more food. In times of surplus, communal animals can collectively safeguard excess food resources from being seized by others. Furthermore, communal living provides individuals with more information. Information can be exchanged among group members, such as the locations of food sources and potential threats. Within the group, those who know where food is abundant or can accurately predict the arrival of predators gain higher status. As differences in status emerge within the group, competition, resource acquisition, and dominance hierarchies begin to form. In this competitive environment, our ancestors sometimes had to employ cunning strategies to secure more resources. An experiment with chimpanzees illustrates this point. When presented with two boxes, one containing food and the other a snake, a chimpanzee intentionally led a companion to the box with the snake. After the companion was frightened away, the first chimpanzee had the food all to itself. Chimpanzees also engage in violent behaviors, including infanticide and intragroup killings. This behavior has been observed in various chimpanzee populations worldwide. Contrary to the belief that human interference in their environment led to such brutality, a study published in the journal Nature, involving 30 biologists and anthropologists who tracked 18 chimpanzee communities across Africa for over 50 years found that the most violent incidents occurred in areas unaffected by human activities. These acts of violence were primarily initiated by males and targeted other males. Additionally, attackers often killed young chimpanzees with intact canines. Attacks typically involved groups of about 5 chimpanzees assaulting a single victim. The author suggests that these acts of killing within the same species represent an adaptive strategy, a form of reproductive advantage. From an evolutionary perspective, this behavior ensures that strong, dominant males pass on their robust genetic traits to future generations. Therefore, communal living caused our ancestors to evolve social behaviors characterized by cooperation and competition. These behaviors eventually led to the development of a distinctively human mind, setting us apart from other animals. Early primates living in trees relied on their hands to grasp branches, while chimpanzees started using simple tools, such as stones to crack nuts and sticks to extract termites from holes. Having a record in fossils, our hands played a crucial role in our intelligent evolution. This is the third factor aiding our mental evolution. So, why did our hands evolve? Apart from becoming more versatile for fine tasks, research suggests that one purpose behind the evolution of human hands was for fighting. A study conducted by a biology professor at the University of Utah, along with their team, had participants aged between 22 to 50 years strike a punching bag with their fists and then with an open palm. They found that the force exerted in both methods was similar, but the punching force on the bag was 1.7 to 3 times greater than the force exerted by an open palm. This made punching more efficient for causing physical harm to opponents. When striking, the fist can deliver more significant pressure, making it the preferred choice in combat situations. Hands also helped us evolve into upright walkers. Transitioning from walking on all fours to upright walking brought about significant changes in the human skeletal system. Most mammals move with their bodies parallel to the ground, using all 4 limbs. However, thanks to early primates, who often relied on their hands to swing between tree branches, our ancestors' arms and legs gradually differentiated. Humans learned to walk upright, expanding their field of vision and making migration easier. Unlike big cats like tigers and lions, which carry their young with their mouths, humans could manage with just one hand, leaving the other free to carry belongings or food. As a result, our range of mobility rapidly expanded. The evolution of hands enabled us to perform increasingly complex tasks, and it also facilitated upright walking. These intricate movements set us apart from other species, as Charles Darwin once noted, stating that hunting with tools and bipedal walking were crucial factors driving human evolution. Hunting further spurred the evolution of social intelligence, which is as vital as physical strength. This brings us to the fourth factor that contributed to the evolution of our minds: hunting. Hunting allowed humans to survive in more challenging environments, and the surplus from hunting could support offspring. In early human life, meat comprised a significant portion of the diet because our ancestors had not yet mastered food processing techniques like making tofu or noodles. Moreover, meat provided more direct nutritional value compared to vegetables. Males who possessed more surplus food resources had an advantage in the competitive environment. They could use the surplus meat for trade and mating with multiple females. Since females were physically weaker than males, to ensure the survival of their offspring, they would select stronger males as mates to guarantee the successful continuation of their genes. This can be seen as one of the earliest forms of resource exchange. In the next audio episode, I will introduce the four abilities of the mind: visual perception, reasoning, emotions, and social relationships. To summarize the content of this audio episode, the mind is a computational organ designed by natural selection to solve various problems we encounter in our lives. The origin and evolution of the mind can be explained through the theories of mental computation and natural selection. The four factors contributing to our mental evolution are visual perception, communal living, the evolution of hands, and hunting activities. These factors allowed our ancestors to stand out among millions of species and embark on the path of intelligence. Congratulations on completing another audiobook. Thank you for your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like, and share this content with your family and friends. Wisdom is worth spreading to create a better future. Thank you, and goodbye.